It's been 210 days since I started investing $5 a day into the stock market. And if you've been paying attention all year, then you know that the market has continued to trend to the upside, with many companies experiencing all-time highs. But over the past month or so, that all changed. And we've recently started to see some downward movement within the market over the last several weeks. Over the last 3 to 6 weeks, we have seen a pullback across the market. Now, I always say that the stock market is unpredictable and at times it can be extremely volatile. And that's playing out in front of our eyes right now. Now, with that said, there are a couple of things that you should remember as you continue to invest as part of this investment challenge. The first is that we are looking at building towards our long-term goals. So we're not going to be too stressed out whenever we see movement to the upside or to the downside within the market, because we're just going to continue to invest and work to build our portfolio out over the long term. Now, when I'm talking about investing and building for our financial futures, I'm talking about investing for 10, 15, 20 plus years to ensure that we can gain enough momentum in our account to where compound interest starts to take over and you can really start to see your portfolio grow exponentially. So we're definitely not viewing this as a short-term investment opportunity where we're going to 2, 3, or 5x our money within a short period of time. And one thing to remember is when the market pulls back, and it will, that we have an opportunity to average into our position at a lower price point, meaning the money that we're investing into our position or into our positions will actually allow us to purchase more of that position when the stock has a pullback. So I invest in my other accounts on a weekly basis. So I go in every Wednesday and I average into my positions in each one of my accounts. And to be honest with you, my preference is to average into those accounts when the market is pulling back on a red day. And just remember, whenever we see large sell-offs within the market, we're just going to continue to roll with our strategy, right? We put a plan in place to build wealth over a long period of time, and we're going to continue to follow that process even when the market pulls back. So in today's video, I'm going to show how my portfolio has performed over the last 7 months. I'm also going to take a look at how my portfolio has performed over the last 30 days, especially with all of this volatility within the past few weeks. And then I also am going to address some of the questions that I have received from you since the beginning of this challenge. And then I'm going to go over a few lessons learned since the beginning of the year. Once I've shown how my portfolio has performed since the beginning of the year and answered some of the questions that I received from you, I'm going to quickly go into a change that I have made to how I invest in this challenge on a daily basis. So make sure to stick around so you can check that out. All right, so let's jump in and let's take a look at how my portfolio has performed since the beginning of the year. So one thing that I always like to do whenever I give these updates is I like to just quickly give a very brief update and a recap of what I'm investing in and kind of what my portfolio looks like at a high level. So the very first thing that you'll notice is that I'm only invested in one position, and that is VOO. So that's one of the questions that I have received in the comments from some of you guys asking, what am I investing in? So I'm investing in Vanguard's VOO. And if you take a look at the bottom of my screen here, you'll see that that's the only position that I'm invested in. And then of course, you'll see the market value of $792. And lastly, an overall net account balance of $842. Now keep in mind that does include $50 that I do have in my account that's not invested, but will be invested over the next several weeks. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at how my portfolio has performed year to date. So if you take a look at the top of my screen here, you'll see that since the beginning of the year, my account is up $28.16. Now that's not a lot of money, but you have to realize that over the last 2 to 4 weeks, we have seen a lot of movement to the downside within the market that has impacted my portfolio. But the important thing to remember here is that we are still green year to date in our portfolio. And we'll go ahead and we will scroll down to the bottom of the screen here, and we will take a look at how my portfolio has performed against the S&P 500 since the beginning of the year. Now, if you take a look, you'll see that my investment portfolio, which is in the green, is all over the place. Right? The S&P 500 has been pretty constant and it has flipped over to the negative. But if we take a look at my portfolio and how it has performed year to date, profit and loss, I am up 36.34% year to date. Now let's flip over and take a look at how my portfolio has been performing over the last 30 days. So if we take a look at how my portfolio has performed over the last 30 days, the first thing that you'll notice is that my screen is red. And like I had previously mentioned, we have seen a lot of pullback across the entire stock market over the last few weeks. So this is to be expected. When I looked at my portfolio, I did expect it to actually be red. I didn't think it would be this red, but that's okay. So if we take a look over the last 30 days, my portfolio is actually down $32.49. And if we scroll to the bottom of the screen here, you'll see that my portfolio is right in line with the S&P 500, and we are down 4.16%. So we are green year to date in our portfolio. That's the most important thing. However, over the last 30 days, we did see that our portfolio did flip from green to red. So now that we've reviewed how my portfolio has performed since the beginning of the year and how it's performed over the last 30 days, I now want to answer some of the questions that I received from some of you to ensure that we're all on the same page during the course of this challenge. Now, the first question that I received is, how am I calculating the return percentage that I'm getting within my portfolio? To answer the question, Webull provides its portfolio percentages based off of the MWRR, which is the money weighted rate of return. So what it essentially does is it calculates the performance of an investment based on the size and timing of the deposit or withdrawal. So it is essentially an alternative way that Webull uses to calculate and report out on the performance of a portfolio. The next question that I've received is, what am I investing in as part of this challenge? And I try to mention the index fund that I'm invested in some point in each of the updates that I provide on this challenge. I also mentioned it earlier in this video, but I'll mention it again in case you missed it earlier in the video. But I'm invested in Vanguard's VOO. And essentially, Vanguard's VOO tracks the S&P 500 index. So that's what I'm investing in as part of this challenge. But the beauty of it is you don't have to invest in VOO just because I'm investing in VOO. There's plenty of index funds out there that are worthy of consideration. And one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning of this investment challenge back in January is that you should absolutely be going through each of the available index funds and picking something that meets your investment criteria, what you're looking for from a long-term perspective. And what I'll actually do is I'll put a link to an index fund database down in the comments. So if you'd like to jump into the challenge, or you're in the challenge already and you're looking to add an additional fund, you can absolutely go through that database and you can select a fund that will work for you. Now, the next question that I've received is, how much money am I investing every single month as part of this challenge? I've had a few people that reached out to me and they had asked, should they be investing $150, or what is the total number that they should be investing? Well, if you're looking to just follow what I'm doing, I'm investing $100 a month. And keep in mind that the market is only open Monday through Friday, and it is closed on major US holidays. So $100 was the number that I picked because it was a nice round number that was low enough that would allow a majority of people to actually participate. But if you want to invest $150, $200, $500, that's completely up to you because everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different. So to answer that question, $100 is the minimum amount that I would recommend, but you are free to invest whatever amount that you feel comfortable leaving in the market for the long term. And the next question that I've received is, why am I not investing the entire amount at the beginning of every single month? And that's a very good question. And the way that I would answer that question is, investing is not a one size fits all type of activity, right? So you have to find the strategy that works well for you and that you can follow. And I would advise you to just do that. So if investing at the beginning of every single month works well for you, then that's fine. If investing twice a month works well for you, then that's fine. I know some people are located in countries outside the United States where Webull or the brokerage that they're using may charge a fee for each transaction. So if that's the case, you may only want to invest once a month, so you're only paying that transaction fee once per month. So that's going to be completely up to you. I'm doing this as an experiment to see how those small investments will compound over a long period of time. But I also think it's a good idea to get in the habit of doing it daily, especially if you're new, just because it gets you in the habit of investing. So now we've had an opportunity to take a look at my portfolio, and I've answered some of the common questions that I've received as part of this challenge. I wanted to let you guys in on a change that I've made since the beginning of this challenge, and I have put my investments on autopilot. And the way that I was able to do this is I went into Webull and I set it up to purchase VOO every single day. So I don't have to actually go into Webull every day to make my purchase. Now I will say that I do go into the market every single day, but setting this up really allows me to set it and forget it. And in fact, the only time that I'm going into Webull is a couple of hours before I give these updates to you guys, because believe it or not, I'm actually not going in and looking at those because I want to reveal my updates in real time with you. And secondly, I log on whenever I'm adding money to my account. So if you have Webull and you're looking to set up your account to automatically go in every single day and purchase a set dollar amount of your investment, I'm gonna show you how to do that real quick. All right, so what you're gonna do is you are going to go into your Webull account and you're gonna go into the position or the index fund that you're investing in. So for the purposes of this, we're gonna choose VOO. And then at the bottom of the screen, in the bottom right-hand corner, you're gonna see 3 dots. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna click on that and you're gonna hit reoccurring investment. So you're gonna go into the reoccurring investment, and for the purposes of this challenge, we're doing $5 every single day. So I'm gonna put $5 in and I'm gonna hit okay. And then you're gonna go down and you're gonna see the frequency. So what we're gonna do is we are going to go in and we're gonna change this to every trading day. And then we're gonna hit next, and then we're gonna hit confirm, and then we're all set to actually have Webull automatically purchase our investment for us every single day. And one of the things that I really like about it is Webull will send you an email reminding you that you have a purchase that's scheduled to go through for the next day. So if you're using Webull and you're looking to put this investment on autopilot, give it a try, see if it works out for you. However, if you do like going into the market every day and you don't mind making that purchase manually, then I suggest that you stick with that as well. So if you're using a brokerage other than Webull, I'm not 100% certain on how you would go in and set up a reoccurring investment, although I'm sure you're able to do it. If there's anyone that's using a different brokerage other than Webull and they know how to set up this type of reoccurring investment, leave a comment down below because it may help someone that may be using the same brokerage house as you to be able to put their investment on autopilot. All right, so now I want to go over a couple of lessons learned since the beginning of the year. So the market has had its pullback, and many people are wondering, is this just your standard correction / pullback, or are we headed towards a potential recession? No one knows because the market is extremely unpredictable. But the one thing that I do know is that we're going to continue our strategy and we're going to continue to build wealth. And lastly, even though the market has pulled back and some of your portfolios may actually be red on the year as well as the last month, make sure that you do not liquidate your position unless you absolutely have to and you need the money. We are in this for the long term, and I want to make sure that you win. So continue to invest, continue with your strategy, and do not let the market pullback distract you from being able to build long-term wealth. If you're able to do that, I guarantee you, your future self will thank you.